Hey everybody, this is Gregory from Dapp University. So today I've got another guest on the channel. I've got Ramon here from cryptojobslist.com to talk about getting a job as a blockchain developer. So welcome to the channel, Ramon.
Thanks, Gregory. Excited to be on the show today.
Yeah, totally. I'm really excited to have you on today. So this is a pretty hot topic with my audience. You know, I make mostly videos for blockchain developers, people kind of trying to get into the crypto space. And, I've done some videos on my channel in the past about, how to get a job as a blockchain developer. And I've actually featured your website before, cryptojobslist.com.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to have you on the channel today, the man behind the project, to talk about how to get a job as a blockchain developer and, kind of what you've seen working on Crypto Jobs List and, some really helpful tips and advice for people who are trying to get into the industry. So with that, kind of being said, I want to hand it over to you to maybe give your elevator pitch for, your project and kind of your background and all that kind of stuff.
Sure. So thanks again for having me. I'm really excited. So my background is software engineering, and funny enough, I think a few years ago, I was looking for a job in blockchain space myself. Had some previous startups that did well or not so well, so I decided to get back into kind of almost full-time employment, and certainly wanted to work with some crypto projects, and started looking for positions. Couldn't find any good resource where I could just find all the opportunities in one place and apply to them. So I thought why not just create a simple list. Crypto jobs list and just post jobs that I saw online to that site, and it sort of took off. So, and right now it's one of the most, probably number one job board out there for finding and posting blockchain and cryptocurrency related jobs, both technical positions and non-technical as well. So it's been about a year and a half right now, launched October 2017. And we had quite a lot of amazing companies, anywhere from Ethereum Foundation, ETC, Block One, the guys behind EOS, exchanges, OKX, Huobi, Circle, a lot of smaller startups, ICO projects, consultancy firms, you name it. So a full spectrum of companies, and as well as different types of opportunities from them. Again, technical and technical engineering, marketing, legal, trading, etc. But I think today we're going to be focusing more on developer opportunities, right?
Yeah, that's right. So, before we jump into that, congratulations. Like I said, this is an excellent product, something I've kind of talked about my channel in the past.
Right. Yeah, so I'm happy to answer any types of questions or be specific about tips and advice that I can provide for this.
Yeah, very cool. So I've got a list of questions here that kind of come up a lot in the comments on my videos and things like that, things that people want to know. So I'll just go down that list and kind of get your take on those things. How's that sound?
Sounds fantastic.
Okay. All right. So the first question is, what is the demand for blockchain developers like? I hear this question a lot. Some people find this to be overhyped sometimes. Some people don't know. Right. And so what is your take on that?
Right. So I think it's first very important to unpack the term, what exactly blockchain developer means, because a lot of people put a lot of different meanings in that word. And it's very important to understand that there are different types of engineering skills that you would need for different kind of types of blockchain engineering positions. Some of them are more coming from web developer background, right? So people who do integrations, some people who do, for example, mobile wallets, or just put a UI on top of existing backend solution. Of course, there are a ton of people who blockchain developers who are actually Dapp developers. And I think it's more relevant to your audience, people who develop applications, smart contracts on top of existing blockchain technologies. And I would name the third category, core developers, protocol developers, people who do cryptography, who work on consensus algorithms, who ensure that blockchain technology itself, underlying blockchain, is actually running and being in sync and providing security for the transactions of the applications that build on top. So, and demand for all of these positions been pretty high up across the past 3-5 years, and especially kind of skyrocketed in 2017 along with the market price. So it's kind of correlated a little bit. And a lot of people have been asking me since 2018 being a bear market, a lot of people have been asking me whether demand for jobs also decreased. And to kind of huge surprise of a lot of people, the demand did not decrease as much as the price dropped, right? So a lot, and it's actually been a fantastic time for hiring and for the demand of positions, because a lot of companies who are just like, out there for quick riches, they got weeded away. So a lot of companies that are hiring out there, they're more legitimate companies, they're bigger companies, they have a solid business model. They're not just those companies who are willing to raise an ICO and kind of run away with the money. They actually know what they're doing. And it's really a fantastic time right now to be applying and to be a blockchain developer. Again, regarding whether you're doing consensus algorithms, regarding whether you're doing Dapp development, or whether you're doing integrations, or mobile wallet or web applications, Web3 applications. So right now it's very easy for you to, or I would not say very easy, you still have to have a lot of skills, very relevant skills for those positions, but it's still easier to get noticed for your skills, right? Because less hype out there in the market. Companies that are hiring, they're way more serious about the the talent that they're looking for, and kind of negotiation for your salary would be kind of more straightforward, I would say, because people are more kind of down to the ground. They're more rational. They're more long-term thinking, as you should be as well. So.
Right. Very cool. Yeah. Thanks for that perspective. I think that's very helpful. So let's ask another question. And this is this is something everybody wants to know. So what can you make as a blockchain developer?
Right. So I think like the salaries all around the place. And then again, it depends on your experience, and also depends on the state of the kind of hype cycle that we are in. Unfortunately, it depends on a bit on the price of the currencies, of the cryptocurrencies that are out there. But short answer would be anywhere from maybe 85K US to maybe 120, 200. Really, again, depends on which country you're based in, which company you're working with, and what type of kind of job you're actually, what kind of service you're delivering to the company. If you're doing security audits, for example, those are very expensive processes. Sometimes you will see that companies spend more money on auditing their smart contracts than they actually spend money on developing their smart contracts, which is kind of interesting dynamic there in terms of kind of pricing. Like, so some companies spend like 20K to audit a smart contract that they're about to deploy to a mainnet, which kind of in a perspective, it might take a few hours for experienced Solidity developer, for example, to audit a smart contract and to find all potential vulnerabilities in that contract. But if you look from the economics of the company that is deploying that contract, that might save them millions of dollars in potential losses, right, in future. So it's very important to kind of for companies not to undervalue the skills of a developer and ensure that they're paying enough. So kind of as like if you compare software engineering in kind of blockchain space compared to all other fields, companies, they have a better understanding of kind of the potential financial loss that they can have if something goes wrong. While in a lot of companies who operate just in the web space, they kind of undervalue. They don't feel that they will lose any particular money. Yes, of course, there might be a security vulnerability, or some private data of their customers being stolen, which is pretty bad situation to be in as a company. But still, it's like the people who run companies, they do not feel as close correlation between actual money and actual funds being stolen from their smart contracts versus some data being leaked. So all the people who are hiring, all the hiring managers, all the CEOs and directors of blockchain companies out there, they kind of over-invest a little bit in a great talent and in quality engineering. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
very cool. Yeah, that's a great explanation. And I'll just add my 2 cents here for everyone who's watching that's a part of my audience. The value proposition of the employee is it's really a two-way street too. And that's something I think it's important for developers to know when they're trying to look for a job or if they're going to be a freelancer or whatever. Because I think it's easy for developers to undervalue themselves when they don't realize all the time, always think about it from the business perspective about, the value that you're bringing to the table. And, like you said, you might pay a lot of money for a smart contract auditor to spend a very few number of hours, but, someone who's very skilled, the value of that to a company is saving them, millions of dollars. They're going to pay it 5 days a week.
That's actually a very good point. I would like to even elaborate on that. Like a lot of great people in engineering overall, they're a bit more introverted and a bit more young. So they're really, really focused on kind of their skill, on developing, on just perfecting their code, ensuring having like thinking of what can possibly go wrong with their code, with their application, right? And they do not have enough time to think about what's that actual value that they provide to the company, how much money they're making for the company, or how much money they're saving of the company, or kind of prevent from being lost from that company, right?
Right.
And I think that's an important thing that developers should kind of adopt. And I think the best way of kind of realizing your value is by talking to more engineers, to more kind of hanging out on forums, hanging out in comments on YouTube, for example, asking people around, and not being afraid to ask those questions about like what's the salary in my city, what's the average salary for this type of position, because again, those positions can salaries for different positions can differ as well significantly, right? And so it's important to be kind of a bit more outgoing and kind of ask those kind of difficult questions from your peers.
Yeah, very cool. It's worth it. I mean, you can even think about that like an investment yourself. If you invest the time into doing those things, and that can, earn you, X percentage increase or whatever you're making, it's definitely worth it.
Right. I think like another like small point, like small tip of advice is, sometimes people might get also crazy. Like it's also important not to overprice yourself, because you can price yourself out of the market, and people will not just work with you at all. Like I think especially if you're just getting started, you might hear different rumors of like, okay, this developer is getting like, I don't know, $500 an hour, which is like very, very crazy. I mean, probably there are positions like that, but there are not a lot of them. So you'll be far better off asking for a lower price initially for your first few engagements that you're working on. If you're doing freelance jobs or kind of contract jobs, you're better off asking for like a maybe lower price a little bit in the early days, maybe 20% off discount, and kind of negotiate that with your employer in the beginning and see whether if they're providing enough value to increase their salary or increase their hourly rate. But especially if you're just starting in the space, it's important for you to get experience, hands-on experience in those companies, and not just by reading books and following tutorials and coding on your own is one thing, but actually satisfying some business needs of a company is a bit different challenge. So you want to really understand whether you are that valuable in a workplace, in a market out there.
Yeah, very cool. I think that's excellent advice. So the next question people want to know is, how do you go about finding a job for a blockchain developer? And I guess I'll kind of open that up to you to providing your unique solution for that.
Right. Well, so I mean, like the obvious one is again, I don't want to like plug just my website. It's not like a panacea, but it's definitely kind of you definitely want to go to websites like mine, Crypto Jobs List, and apply to positions there. You just very easy subscribe to the newsletter, follow us like on Twitter and Telegram, and like look for new. We're just gonna notify you about the latest positions out there. But I think what's really important is how you kind of approach the application process from the mindset perspective, right? Because there are a lot of people who are applying for those positions. Some might be more skilled than you are. A lot of them probably will be less skilled than you are. So it's really important to show your achievements, like what you have actually done, right? Companies do not necessarily focus that much on your formal education. I mean, if you're from Ivy League school or not an Ivy League school, it doesn't really matter, to be honest, right? What company is looking for engineers is they're looking for the raw talent and ability to actually reach the goals, to reach those tasks that companies are setting for you, right? So it's really important to show the projects that you've done, ideally your side projects. I mean, a lot of jobs, they would have you NDA signed, so you're not necessarily able to share what you worked on, and that's fine. But if you're in this position, you still try to show some numbers about what results you achieved over what period of time. If you, for example, if you were able to complete certain smart contract with certain functionality over like 2 months time, do mention those numbers. If you have some numbers about how much, I don't know, if you develop like a multi-sig contract, how much value being stored in that contract, that kind of adds more value to you and helps position you as a professional better. And when you apply to those positions, make sure that you have enough patience because companies take some time to follow up. If there's been like way too long time, if it's like if you apply to different positions and you really believe that you're a great fit for that particular position, you can always like DM me personally, like on Twitter, or email me, or go to a chat on our on Crypto Jobs list. There's like a green button in the bottom right of the site. So I'll try to be as helpful as possible and facilitate the introduction to a company as well. What are the other great advice that I'm thinking? Yeah, I think that those are like the most kind of juicy tips that are like off the top of my head right now.
Sure.
But yeah, just be persistent in your application process. Show your achievements again. Back it up with some numbers, any numbers that you can, about like what's the team size, how long did it take you to develop certain application, what was the functionality, the feature set of that application, etc. And yeah, just be optimistic and about your kind of application process. I think another thing is like important to specialize on one technology. A lot of people when they make a mistake of mentioning way too many technologies on their resume, and for experienced recruiters and experienced developers who are like senior developers in sort of company, they're the ones who are going to be looking at your resume. And for example, I myself used to be hiring for my previous companies and companies that I worked for. Whenever I see way too many technologies, way too many frameworks, a competing frameworks, especially on someone's resume, I would right away understand that this person is just like using a lot of buzzwords and they not necessarily know anything in depth. So it's better off to specialize in something. Never perceive that something as your weakness, and just be specialize in this thing. Be confident and bold about that technology set. Never feel fear of missing out, that you're missing out on certain like latest framework. So for example, I'm coming from a JavaScript background, right? And in the JavaScript world, there was a new framework every day, right? So like there was a React, Vue, Angular, Bootstrap, Backbone, you name it, right? And it's just important to be really good and proficient with one thing. The same thing applies for kind of blockchain skills. If you're developing on Ethereum, don't try to like jump all over the place and be super proficient in Hyperledger or super proficient in like developing for NEM or for EOS. But yeah, make sure just to specialize on something. Be really deep in that one technology, and it's okay if people ask you like, hey, can you develop me a Solidity contract, but you're maybe someone with a C++ background, and for example on EOS, smart contracts are working in C++, so maybe for you it will be better to specialize in that if you're really interested. in that ecosystem, right? So just like, find the niche that you really feel comfortable with, find the community. Again, different technologies, they also attract different types of kind of opportunities. So if it's Hyperledger would be more corporate, more banking background. A lot of Solidity contracts, Solidity skills, they would vary. So a lot of like banks would not necessarily be interested in this kind of tech, but some of them, they do still have like kind of incubation labs. A lot of startups obviously jump on trying to come up with a new game on Ethereum platform. Yeah, so it's really, make sure to specialize.
Yeah, totally. I think that's definitely great advice. That's something I think I even mentioned in a video I just released. Some tips about becoming a blockchain developer is you want to pick something and commit. And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier with, the value that you bring to a company. You bring more value the more you know about the thing the company needs you to know about.
Right. Yeah, I think that in general, kind of tips of advice, go socialize with other developers out there in your city. Go to like meetup.com, look for events and meetups, go to technical talks. One of the best ways as well to learn is to give a technical talk yourself about certain new technology. So like, again, the best way to learn is to teach someone. What you've been doing, for example, is fantastic, Greg. So it's, when you teach someone, you kind of learn yourself those concepts even better. They kind of get digested in your head even better. That kind of positions you, just makes you even better person at doing that thing, right?
It accomplishes it's efficiency, really. It accomplishes so many things at one time just by doing one thing. You get so many benefits about spending your time with one single focus.
Right. Focus is very important.
Yeah, so I got one other question here that I didn't necessarily think about until now,
Sure.
but maybe a question people have, which is how remote friendly is the blockchain ecosystem?
That's a very great question. The good news is that it's very remote friendly. A lot of teams are like 100% remote. A lot of teams are like nomading a lot, and it's pretty interesting that kind of cryptocurrencies overall is very, very kind of well adopted among nomads.
Right.
Interestingly, primarily, probably I think because they stumble upon the problem of transferring money, of converting currencies in one to another, paying for rent in a new location, and being kind of familiar with the credit card scams when you go to like, I don't know, some exotic place, you use your credit card to withdraw money from an ATM, and you immediately it clicks with you why kind of storing crypto would be way more effective, and it's harder to steal funds from you, right? So a lot, and it's okay. Going back to the question of whether all the employers there are remote friendly or not, I think most of the companies, regarding again whether they're core, where they're developing their own consensus mechanisms, or whether they're building dApps, or whether they are building a bit like more high level applications with little integration to the blockchain, they all welcome great talent that is remote. But again, a lot of, that also includes like researchers, like really in-depth cryptographers. They're really happy for if you're working abroad, if you're working in Asia, in Europe, in the United States, and in Africa, it doesn't really matter for them. But a certain percent of like a bit more corporate positions, and a bit more established companies that would still prefer you to relocate to the office, and work from the office. And usually those hubs would be either Silicon Valley, Berlin, London. In Asia, that would be usually Singapore or Hong Kong. So you just apply to those positions and kind of, there is always enough opportunities for your tastes, for anyone's tastes. If you're willing to stay at home and work remotely, there are opportunities for that. If you're willing to relocate, you can definitely do that too.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and I think part of the remote friendliness is, in a sense, I don't think blockchain can afford not to be remote friendly. I think that's part of just the economics of the space is, the demand for it and supply really is scattered across the world. I mean, there's just really not enough people located in a single place oftentimes to have a critical mass to develop a good, competent team. And they just...
Right.
It's critical for a lot of people. Like you mentioned, some of these bigger cities, it's a different story. They're able to recruit talent because they have such large populations. But I would say for most companies in smaller cities, they just can't afford not to.
Right. And I'm pretty actually very impressed about how much sophisticated technology is being built by remote teams. It's really fascinating. I mean, like, even if you look at Ethereum Foundation, their core team is really like scattered all around the world. A lot of, again, main like top 10 cryptocurrencies out there, their teams are scattered all around the world. Developers are everywhere, in Asia, in Europe, in States, in South Africa as well. So it's really fascinating that they're able to communicate very sophisticated, concepts and technical detail and collaborate over distance.
Yeah, very cool. Well, so I'm going to kind of summarize here to give people, a little perspective on kind of what we talked about and, give some quick answers to the questions, right? So the first one is there good demand for blockchain developers? I think we covered that. Yes.
Absolutely.
Is there, how much money can you make as a blockchain developer? I mean, we kind of set a good range, but I would say it's safe to say for a good developer, you should be able to make a 6-figure salary as a blockchain developer.
Yep.
And you're going to be able to work from where you want to probably if, you're like a good developer, like I mentioned. And those are really 3 things that I think are a really great part of this, ecosystem. If you're able to learn and get in there and work hard, there's just a lot of great opportunities.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah. So kind of before we wrap up here today, again, it's been a great having you on the channel. I'm going to share my screen really fast and kind of show cryptojobslist.com. I know we mentioned a couple of the features that you're talking about. Let's just kind of walk through, how someone would find a job on the platform.
So I think like one of the main things that you want to do early on is like subscribe to the newsletter. We're going to be sending you daily and weekly summary of all the jobs that are out there. If you don't want to be disturbed daily, we can definitely send you a weekly summary, anywhere from, again, developing engineering positions to marketing to community management. We even had like a meme specialist position that was about a year ago. That was pretty funny. And if you pick any of, so like as you mentioned, there was like a remote opportunities. You can just click that checkbox there and it will show you a list of purely remote positions.
Nice.
There are quite a lot of them. You can see like a salary range. Interestingly enough, a lot of companies are a bit hesitant to share their salary statistics.
Sure.
I mean, like companies always feel slightly insecure, even if they're providing like a decent 6-figure salary, they're still feeling competitive against the other companies, or they have certain like non-disclosure agreements internally. So like you just pick any of the position. So let's
do a developer job. How about that? Let's do this. Yeah. We'll do a remote developer job. And we'll find one that has, let's see here, full stack. Here we go. Here we go. Awesome. So these are doing a percentage of equity as well.
Mm-hmm. Coinciding, Milano. Right. So you make sure to read about the company. Some companies, they also feature like a short video clip about them. So we try to, provide them as much value as possible so that they can, explain to all the great talent out there why they're an employer of choice, why they're the best company to work for. After you spend some time, reading, evaluating, and you make sure that this position is really for you, it's a great match for you. make sure to scroll all the way to the bottom. There is a green apply button. So when you do that, all right, that's okay. So yeah, you just like fill out your profile, make sure, like, please stay away from copy pasting your resume. Please make sure to kind of spend some time and craft like a just personal application letter. Explain to the person who's hiring why you're the right fit for this. I think that's very important to kind of be personal here and not just very kind of don't sound too corporate or too impersonal. Just explain why you're excited about this position. Make sure you've done enough research about the company. Show your results and achievements that you've done. Should be very concrete. What was your task? What was your goal? How did you solve it? And what were the kind of tangible results from your the work that you've accomplished? Numbers of growth, period of time that you spend on working on it. So mention all that in this like huge box. Explain why you're great for the position. Attach your CV and send the application. And hopefully someone will be in touch with you quite shortly from the company. If you still believe that you're a really great fit and no one got back to you within a few weeks, feel free to get in touch. You can see there's like a green circle on the bottom right. I'm typically responding there pretty often. Okay, I've been recently active. Yeah, and make sure we have a Telegram channel. If you scroll up, there is a Telegram, and this will direct you to our Telegram group with where you can use notifications. So we do our best to give you as many channels as you wish to follow us on either Twitter or Telegram or via email. We obviously have like a Reddit group and LinkedIn if you're spending enough time there. Yeah, so just make sure to kind of be active. Also, by the way, very interesting thing that I thought is cool is if you go back to the job description page, we give an opportunity for people to leave comments.
Sorry, which one was it?
Just go to any page.
This one?
If you scroll a bit lower, yeah. So okay, what's going on is like it's loading comments.
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, comments thread. So sometimes there was quite interesting discussions happening in those in the comment threads. So people asking more specifically about compensation, they ask questions about the job, and sometimes quite interesting discussions happening right below the job description. So, and I've never seen any other job board out there doing that. And for us, it's been proven to be pretty interesting channel for kind of discussion and kind of community building, where people get to know each other better. They get to know the company a bit better. Because like one of the frustrations that I had myself when I was applying for jobs is the whole process felt very impersonal, and you apply to a job, you never hear back from the company. So I really try to ensure that we send you a notification as soon as someone views your resume. We give you an outlet to kind of connect with those companies on kind of all different dimensions. So yeah, and always, we always open for feedback and happy to kind of improve our service and provide more listings or give more channels for you to connect with the companies.
Well, Rahman, I really enjoyed our chat here today. Again, this is a great platform for anybody who's looking for a job in the crypto space, whether developers or not, to find out about new opportunities and apply, things like that. But again, I really enjoyed having you on the channel today to talk about how to get a job as a blockchain developer. I think everyone's really has enjoyed the tips and advice and everything that you have shared with us today. So I if no one else has it, in the very least, I have.
All right. I also really appreciate this opportunity. I really enjoy what you've been doing with your channel. I think the educational content is super important in this space, and I wish more people like you are also starting their kind of academies and teaching people what to do and make sure if you're, subscribe to Gregory's courses, very important. Leave comments below if you have more questions. I think we're both going to be responding to those comments and kind of following up with everyone in the community. So I really appreciate this opportunity, definitely.
Yeah. Likewise. This is awesome. All right, everybody. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up here for today. So if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel and also check out cryptojobslist.com to find a job as a blockchain developer. Oh, and also thumbs up the video below so that more people can learn about this great resource so that it can be found in the YouTube algorithm and all things like that. So again, thanks, Ramon. And until next time, thanks for watching Dapp University.